Hello everyone, it's Bella Malloy here, host of Seek Travel Ride, and welcome to another midweek episode of the show where I am fueling your stoke for bike travel and keeping your wanderlust alive for your own bike adventures. Now, this week we are going to be hearing from another fellow Australian, Juliana, who is currently mid-adventure bikepacking her way around Europe. Juliana's story is truly heartwarming, and I have to say, when I received this one, oh my gosh, I was just smiling from the first second to the absolute last, because so much of this is about those beautiful moments of serendipity with complete strangers, those interactions that we have that I think will stay with us forever and perhaps change our perspectives on things and encourage us to pay it forward in kindness forevermore. The story that Juliana is going to tell us about is going to transport us to Latvia, and no one tells this story better than herself, so take it away, Juliana.
Hi everyone, hi Bella, my name is Juliana and I'm currently on an open-ended solo bikepacking trip around Europe. So I'm in Montenegro at the moment and I started this journey about 3.5 months ago, and I think it's been 23 countries and about 7,500 kilometers, which is crazy because this journey was honestly supposed to be 3 weeks in Norway, and I didn't think I was going to enjoy it this much. But the kindness and generosity of so many strangers have made it enjoyable and, to be honest, possible. So in saying that, I really wanted to share with you guys a time I think a stranger went above and beyond to help me. And it was at a time where I really needed somebody. So I was cycling through Latvia on the countryside and I was on a rail trail. And I think it'd been almost 2 hours since I'd seen anybody. And I stumbled upon this man called Imants. And Imants is 90 years old and he's riding his bike. And so we start riding together and I am fascinated by this man. The fact that he is 90 years old on a bike. And I'm like, oh my goodness, oh no, it's going to take us so long to get to the next town. I thought he was going to be really slow, but he was not. He rides 30 to 40 kilometers like 2 to 3 times a week, right? So he was so impressive. We keep riding together and anyway, I get stung and I'm anaphylactic to like bees and wasps. So we stop, I give myself my EpiPen and he calls the ambulance for me. He waits with me and then the ambulance comes and they're trying to figure out what to do with my bike because it can't really fit in the ambulance. And so he gives me his business card and tells me to call him when I'm done at the hospital. And he says he'll deal with my bike and everything. And as a solo woman traveling, it's one of those things where I have to trust my gut. And at this point in time, I had nothing but warm, good feelings towards this person. So I felt really, really lucky that I had someone to look out for me and who was also able to translate the language because everyone was speaking Latvian and I was already just like really scared with the situation because I've never had to give myself an EpiPen. And funnily enough, this EpiPen was actually given to me by a stranger in Sweden when I had a reaction and they were like, in case the reaction is worse next time, here's an EpiPen. So I go to hospital and I get given more medications, and as I'm getting discharged, the nurses and doctors are just kind of wondering, where I'm going, who's going to be looking after me. And I was like, oh, this man I met. And they were like, wait, what? And I was like, oh, yeah, just this man I met on my bike. He'll pick me up. And I think they were like a little bit concerned. But then when they met him and everything, they were like, oh, no, this is so lovely. So Imants did a 2-hour round trip to come pick me up, which was so kind of him. Initially, I was like, oh, no, what's a 90-year-old man going to be behind the wheel? But his wife had been telling him to, go slow around the corners. So I felt really, really safe. We went to the pharmacy, we went to the supermarket, and he's there pointing what's traditional Latvian food, telling me to treat myself, grab whatever. And I'm like, oh my goodness, no, I'll grab some snacks that we can have for dinner as well. And so we drive to his countryside home and we get to his home and his wife has already prepared dinner, food on the table, my bed is made, there's a towel there, all the good stuff. And so we sit down, have dinner. We then just share lots of stories. And then they show me around the property and they're so independent with everything. So they've planted all these trees. They're growing all these fruits. And as we're sort of walking around the property, I see my bike over near the shed, and my bike is like, the bike bags are like half hanging off, and it's like some of my stuff is on the floor. And oh my goodness, this poor man had to lift my bike into the car. So at the rail trail, he rode his bike 30 minutes to home, got his car to then put my bike in his car to then drop it home. And so could you imagine how like heavy and also just confusing all those like bike packing bag straps are that he had to deal with to load and unload my bike? So yeah, I felt so bad, but he just insisted that it was okay and that, he got to use his brain to try and figure things out. So then after this, we head into his office and he translates books. And so he's got his Russian copy and his English copy, and then he translates that to Latvian. So talking about like using his brain, as you were saying before, he is always engaging with something. And he was a radio engineer for the embassy as well. So his English is so good. And he was just telling me how he really, really wanted Latvian people to be able to like have these books written in their language as well. So he was just so happy to help people out. And also there was a lot about this man that really reminded me of my grandpa, who is 85 years old, who is really active. And by my grandpa being so active and by Imants being so active, you can see how well it translates to him being such a good husband and such a good friend and still so involved. And so that was so special to see and to experience as well. And so we ended up calling my dad and grandpa on video call and everything. And it was just the most gorgeous interaction because, my grandparents and family are like thanking him, and he's just saying, that he feels so lucky that he could help me. And I just felt so lucky to have someone that could help me at that time. And I was telling him this and he was like, oh, well, maybe if you had met me, you wouldn't have got stung, which I thought that was quite funny. And so then my family got the address details and sent a care package, which Imants actually received the other day. And it was a little care package from Australia filled just with some like cooking stuff of koalas and also just some macadamia nuts. And so Imants and I are actually in contact via email, and there's just some lovely exchanges. And he was just talking about how wonderful it was of the kind of trip I'm doing. And, I'm just so thankful. And I keep on telling him how many wonderful people I've met and how many kind people I've met and how his kindness and generosity just was so beautiful. And I kept on telling him this, right? And he was like, no, normal. Like, I'm just a normal person because normal people are kind. And I just thought that was such a beautiful way to wrap things up, because to him, what he was doing was just normal, which is crazy because, again, this man is 90 years old. He did a 1-hour round trip, like dealing with putting my bike in and out of the car, then a 2-hour round trip to the hospital, then to multiple pharmacies to get an EpiPen, to then the supermarket, to like all of this stuff. So yeah, it was a really special moment, and I think it's going to be something I'm going to remember forever. And yeah, I feel so lucky to be able to travel by bike and stumble upon these people I don't think I would have ever had the chance to. And yeah, to sum it up, I think the kindness and generosity of strangers along the way has been able to make this trip what it is. And I feel so thankful every day that I get to ride my bike and I get to encounter so many people who help me out. And people as inspirational as Imants. At 90 years old, riding a bike 2 to 3 times a week, 30 to 40 kilometers. Wow, I want to be like him when I'm older.
Listeners, I don't know about you, but I am still stoked and smiling after hearing this update from Juliana. Oh my gosh, there is so much I love about this. This 90-year-old man, Juliana, he's an absolute dead-set legend. I'm just picturing him and his strength and his kindness and the idea that he just shrugged it off and thinks it's just normal because normal people are kind. I love that message so much. And Imants, he also sounds like he's pretty strong on the bike. I know I've mentioned it before in other episodes where there's a saying, beware the old man on a bike. And often it's because you underestimate their physical capabilities because they've probably never stopped riding their bike through their adulthood. And so they're actually a lot stronger than we would think, and definitely stronger than the typical 90-year-old in this case. But Imants sounds like he's an absolute beast. doing 2 or 3 rides a week, 30 or 40 kilometers. And this, what he did for you, oh my gosh, it blew me away. The idea that he, rode back, collected your bike, drove to the hospital, drove you to the supermarket, drove you to the chemist, took you in, had you at his home. What an absolute awesome person. In fact, there's part of me that really wants to interview him, and maybe I could. I don't know. We need to swap email addresses and see if we can make that happen, right, Juliana? The other thing I wanted to mention here is I, Juliana, can 100% feel and understand how you were when you were actually bitten by, was it a wasp or a bee? Because a few years ago, while I was out cycling, I was also bitten by a wasp. In Australia, we'd call them European wasps, but in Europe, I guess they're just called wasps, right? Anyway, this wasp got itself between my sunglasses and my eye and bit me right on the corner. And within about 30 minutes, my whole face was completely swollen. My eye was swollen shut. I broke out in hives. I was peaking. Had to go to the chemist really quickly, get some antihistamines and kill the allergic reaction. And ever since then, I have been so nervous whenever I see a bee or a wasp buzz around because of that type of reaction. So I'm picturing you there, knowing that you react, you have the EpiPen, but you've never used it before. So just even the anxiety that might come across from having to do that. And then you're with Imants, who's 90 years old, but calling you the ambulance and saying, don't worry, I'll look after everything. And yeah, wow, you must have been going on an adrenaline. Well, obviously, with the EpiPen, you would have been going on an adrenaline, right? It's a literal shot of adrenaline, I believe. And just the fact that everything worked out, though, and that is the tale of this podcast. Listeners, I have interviewed countless around the world bike travelers, and even just people who are riding in different countries, doing whatever type of bike adventure. And overwhelmingly, the message I get told time and time again are, people are kind, people want to help you out, and you will always find a way. And I feel like that is the golden message that is coming out so clearly with Juliana's experience here as well. So beautiful. I absolutely love that you've kept in touch with Imants, that you've got his email, that your parents sent him a care package. I have to ask, Juliana, did you send him Tim Tams? Or Shapes crackers, barbecue flavour, right? Anyway, Australians will know exactly what I'm talking about. I think it's great that you're keeping in touch with him. You've made a new friend for life. And I just love that you had this beautiful encounter on your beautiful adventure. And I'm certain that you have many more to come. And listeners, we have many more stories to hear from Juliana because I will be interviewing her for a full-length feature episode on the podcast. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for that one when it drops. And in the meantime, be sure to hit up the link to Juliana's Instagram account so you can follow her travels. I have links to that in the podcast description show notes for today. Thank you so much, Juliana, for sharing your story. Listeners, if you want to share your stories of amazing encounters on your bike adventures and you're wondering how you can be featured in these midweek episodes, the easy answer is get in touch with me, let me know what your bike adventure is and what you're doing, and I can tell you how you can submit some audio. The best way to get in touch with me is probably via Instagram. If you send me a direct message there, my Instagram handle is Seek Travel Ride, all one word. Get in touch with me and let me know, and let's see if we can get you featured on the show. Okay, listeners, now it's time for me to shout out you, my absolute awesome super fans, who have gone above and beyond and bought me some virtual coffees. All these virtual coffees go a long way to pay for the running costs of the podcast and keep me producing episodes for you each and every week. And this week, I would like to thank Steve Cuthbertson, who has said, "Hi Bella, I'm still enjoying your podcasts during my commute. Just listening to the interview with Martine and her warm showers experience. My wife and I started hosting this summer and have already hosted some people on their Le Jog trips. They always turn out to be such interesting people with stories to tell. After Tarifa to Worcester last year, I haven't planned anything this year except for London, Edinburgh, London, which, well, that turned out to be London, Yorkshire, London, due to Storm Floris. So I'm feeling the itch to do something else already. Maybe a weekend on the continent would help. Anyway, keep up the good work, Steve." Oh, thank you so much, Steve, for supporting me and the podcast, but also for supporting the bike travel community, paying it forward and hosting on warm showers as well. It sounds like you've hosted some amazing people, and I always feel like as a host, hearing bike travel stories from your guests that you're hosting fuel ideas for your own adventures too. So perhaps like tuning into the podcast, also hosting on Warm Showers, it's all culminating into you formulating ideas for your own adventure. I'm really sorry that London was a real washout with Storm Floris, but I hope that Yorkshire London turned out to be pretty good anyway. And keep me posted because I want to see where your next adventures take you. Thank you so much for supporting me and the podcast. And listeners, if you would like to do as Steve has done and support me on the podcast as well, simply head to buymeacoffee.com/Seek Travel Ride. Buy me some virtual coffees. Let me know who you are and why you listen to the show and where your next bike adventure is going to take you. And maybe I can give you a shout out in another midweek episode to come. Until the next episode, my name's Bella Malloy. Thanks for listening.